welcome to the January 13th Board of Supervisors meeting. We'll go ahead and open our meeting. Mr. Campbell, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Please stand. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor. All right. Once again, thank you for coming to our meeting this morning. We'll go ahead and start with the oral communications. Each person is allowed to come up and speak before the board. You have 3 minutes to do such. There's a clock in the top corner here. At 1 minute, it'll beep, let you know that you have 1 minute left. If you have any questions or concerns, just let us know. We'll walk you right through it. Please feel free to talk about any item which is not on the agenda.
I'm here to ask you guys for a special meeting for the homeless.
Could you pull the mic down just a little bit? Thank you.
We need a special meeting to talk about some of this homeless issues and pulling those trailers out. There's no way that January is going to do good for anybody. We need a special meeting. All of us are going to start showing up. It's really difficult because of transportation reasons. Finally, we've got it worked out where the move days aren't going to coincide with the days to be here for the meetings. We're going to start speaking and talking for ourselves. This is very important. There's a lot at jeopardy here. Mr. Griefer, I'm moving into your section. I'm now getting out of the homeless issues, and I can tell you what, 2017, my world fell apart. This is the hardest experience of my whole entire life. Many people, 2024 was a really bad year. We need to pull this together and start talking as a group and getting this out here. Happy birthday, Jaron. And you've been in this a long time with me. We've got to get this under control, you guys. It's out of control. Many issues. Thank you, and I appreciate a lot of things that you guys have done, but some of it, you have no idea until you live it and walk it, the challenges that we are facing with all parts of it. And there's places, there's some places that there's nowhere for these guys to go, and they support each other. And everything just really needs paid attention. The health, behavioral health, we're lacking in a lot of things, guys. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Anna Britt. I am a resident at the Navigation Center in Soulsbyville, and I'm here to speak about the homeless too. Happy birthday. One more trip around the sun. Well done, you. So over Christmas, someone passed away at Camp Justice. His name was Bryant. I did not know him, but I can tell you that people at the Navigation Center were rocked by it. I don't know what the answer is. I just want the Board of Supervisors to be aware that decisions are made not out of cruelty, not out of ignorance, trying to abide by laws and regulations, but people shouldn't be dying out there. That's not even remotely okay. And can you imagine if you were out there, the panic that you would be feeling right now, like I could be next? I'm under a roof at the Navigation Center and people were walking around saying that could have been me. I could be next. That's not a good space to be in for any of us. It's a beautiful job you guys do. Have a nice day.
Good morning, Patricia Ray, and everyone may be tired of hearing about the Rugged Trail Road dump, but I'm tired of living with it, and that makes us even. There's quite a bit of county code and ordinances that look like they're being ignored. I am not an expert. Let's see. there's language about the importance for all legitimate uses of land. Compatible land uses are permitted to coexist side by side while they are protected from encroachment by conflicting land uses. My neighborhood has been there over 60 years, just about forever. Then we got a dump stuck right next to us without a buffer zone. And there has been vacillation, sometimes called processing, refining, and storage of materials, sometimes called a disposal facility. And it seems that our health in the neighborhood is ignored. The things there in giant piles, the state said to remove the asphalt piles. They're still there. And they may look inert sitting there, but when cement is dumped, disturbed, this is one example, there's a giant cloud of dust that we have to breathe that is not inert. There's huge old tree stumps. Here we go. Violations harming the health or safety of neighborhood residents or breaching the reciprocal rights and expectations of owners in zoning districts. Also, Business Park is supposed to be a campus-like setting. It is not supposed to be a war zone, which we have looked at for 5 years, but mainly our health issues are ignored or trivialized. I'll quit here. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name's David Haltom. Just want to acknowledge all you guys for what you do. I have friends back at home in office, and it's not an easy job. I just want to talk about the food banks and just make a plea that they get funding. They help a lot of people.
Sir, we have so you're more than welcome to talk about anything that's not on the agenda. That item is on the agenda, so you are more than welcome to come back when we have that agenda item discussed and give your 3 minutes then.
Okay, I didn't understand
Right.
first time.
Right. Yeah, no worries. It's kind of opening season, right? We're still learning ourselves.
All right.
It's at 10 o'clock. It will be that presentation.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Happy birthday, Jared. My name is Paul Burdett, and I represent a group of community partners on the South Shore of Lake Tulloch. We'd like to publicly submit our desire to submit an RFP to submit the consideration for the new vendor, lease operator of the campground at Lake Tulloch and Marina. We are a group of seasoned business owners, experienced operators, residents, and homeowners. We have a vested interest in seeing the success of the Tulloch campground and Marina, ensuring that we can return that into a viable, profitable, safe, and revenue-driven establishment for the county. That's it, short and sweet. We just wanted to make this public in all transparency. I have a little bit of copy of paper, kind of says who we are. If you guys want this and some contact information I can hand out. I already spoke with Roger real quick and gave it to him as well. And then we can go forth from there and hopefully set up a meeting. Again, this is just in the eyes of transparency. We wanted to introduce ourselves and submit this process.
If you'd like to submit that, you can give it to Mr. Root.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm Carol. I'm trying not to get upset again, but I live at Camp Justice, and I'm here to speak on the seniors out there. 9 out of 11 trailers out there are over 50. And like Lady said, we just had lost somebody out there that if he was in a trailer, he probably would still be here today. Myself just got into a trailer, and it's a blessing. It's made me have hope, and thank God for the camp even being there. I was just it's middle of winter, and I don't know how, I can't take how the cold it is out there. I can't see how these elders are. We're one big family out there, and we'll do what we need to, take to save it for a little while. September, all the tents are gone too, so I would just ask if we can just stay a family out there like we are until it's over. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. I'm at the podium right now as a member of the public and a resident of Tuolumne County. These views are my own. My grandfather served with honor in the Philippines in World War II and was MIA in the jungle. He never had a gun in his house after he came home because he knew firsthand what happens when you use one on another human being. I have family members who hunt. I do know how to spit shot out of a duck breast or a rabbit leg for dinner. I've worked closely with the UC Merced Police Department and now the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Department, and I have the highest respect for well-trained law enforcement who are professionals focused on community policing and public safety. This is all background to provide context for my next words. What do Keith Porter, a black man in California, and Renee Good, a white woman in Minnesota, have in common? They were killed by ICE in 2026. It was not necessary. It was not justified. Using lethal force, hitting people with cars, kicking down doors without warrants, abducting U.S. citizens and legal residents and denying due process is not law enforcement. There's no such thing as a good guy with a gun. There's nothing good about using a tool whose primary function is to kill or injure another being. Is it necessary in some instances? Yeah. Does our legal system sometimes find it is justified? Yes. Is it good? Never. I just say this to thank you for giving me this space to exercise my First Amendment right without getting shot. I have lived in 4 countries on 3 continents, including an authoritarian one. I have never felt so unsafe. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Good morning. My name is Emily Pardee. I'm a resident of Tuolumne County, and I was going to say pretty much exactly what you just heard. But I would also like to mention that this body appropriately had a moment of silence for someone who was shot and killed by gunfire. And I think it would be appropriate if we had another one in honor not only of Renee Good, but also remembering Sarah Beckstrom, who was shot in D.C. in the line of duty, but not by a fellow serviceman. Those are my thoughts this morning, and I have a little note down here that at least 30 other people have died while in detention through ICE, and somehow I know that there will be memorials for these people coming up in various spiritual venues, but I would like to go on record as saying that I deplore this kind of approach to immigration law. Thank you.
Any other people wish to address the board? Seeing none, thank you for those who spoke. We'll move on to our staff reports now. Any of the staff that wishes to make a presentation?
Good morning, Board. Sorry I'm doing it from over here, but I want to show you something. Apologies I wasn't here last week. Just showed you this as well, but I wanted to share our updated dashboard specific to the Chinese camp debris removal. I know this is public, so this is out there. You have this as well. Just a friendly reminder of where we're at. This is updated every 2 hours, so it's kind of live in that sense. So as of this morning, we have cleared 36 parcels. And those are in the environmental review phase. That includes the soil sampling that occurs. Sometimes when soil sampling comes back, first of all, it takes 7 to 10 days usually. We are really pushing with our property owners' appreciation of their patience, because when you go out there, you can see that a property is cleared, but we have not given back the property yet officially because we are still in the environmental process. So we want to make sure folks understand there is a process for us to clear that. Sometimes if a soil sampling comes back and we have to do an additional soil sampling or a rescraping, that does occur occasionally on some of the parcels. That's why we might see a delay. We are making huge progress, and this weather is absolutely helping us. Really hats off to the Public Works crew, Blossom, Denise, and their inspectors who are managing the actual field side of everything that is happening there. Also to our sheriff's department that helped us with the vehicle adjudication process, and a new app they worked out with CHP, which is pretty exciting to be able to test that in the field on this project. I just want to clarify for the public, you'll see we received 60 right of entries, 60 parcels. You'll see on the bottom right, 9 were ineligible. What that means is a parcel might have not had a qualifying structure, or in an instance where the property owner removed debris outside of the footprint made them ineligible. So there were 9 out of the 60 that were deemed eligible for one of those 2 reasons. So we are getting close to doing a final sign-off for one of our first properties, making lots of progress, and we are very, very excited about that. So I want to make sure you see this. Also, I know that all of the board, and I want to make sure the public has seen this, but Monday, the 19th, at Chicken Ranch will be the Multi-Agency Resource Center for Rebuilding Chinese Camp. This is being coordinated with many local agencies and organizations, the American Red Cross, Chamber of Commerce. We're supporting it. We will have a table there. I look over at Roger. Roger and I will be staffing that table and making sure that folks have questions answered about building permits. But there'll be some great organizations there to help those property owners get to start to think about the next phase. So I just wanted to give you an update on that and where we're at, and that this public dashboard is out there and it's continually to being updated every 2 hours. Thank you.
Good morning, Board. Mario Torres, Battalion Chief, Tuolumne County Fire. I'm here today to thank PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric Company, for providing Tuolumne County Fire Department with a $10,000 charitable contribution. This money was used to outfit our boat, 554, up at Station 55 in Pinecrest. Just giving a little background on that station, it's staffed by volunteers up in Pinecrest. They also work for Pinecrest Permittees Association. So when they work there, they respond to all medical aids, medical rescues, any type of fires, vehicle accidents, all the way up to the pass. So do a great deal. We were lacking on the infrastructure on our boat. Had to use this money to update the pump so it has a pump that's adequately working, and a couple engine repairs. We provided PFDs for adults and infants, children, and the rescuers in order to, when they have those medical rescues at Cleo's Bath, they're able to transport people safely across the lake. We also provided litters to carry people and a Stokes wheel. That's going to make it a whole lot easier for the volunteers up there when they're responding to these calls. So just wanted to, this was made possible by PG&E's Better Together Giving Program, and it was issued to us September 17th of 2025. And we just want to say thank you. And report.
Thank you, Chief. Any other staff reports? All right, thank you. All right, next will be our board reports. Does any board member have a board report? Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, thank you. So I held a town hall in Crystal Falls on Friday. It's very well attended by a lot of citizens that were concerned about the board's consideration of closing a fire station, the fire station that serves communities in the eastern half of Tuolumne County, northeastern half. I think there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of concern amongst people, and something that I thought was pretty went to the heart of the issue that we're discussing is that there was a power bank that exploded out at Pacific Ultra Power, as I think we're all aware by now. And I had planned on having members of that fire station attend the town hall so they could meet the people that they serve, but they were not able to come because they were fighting that fire and helping to protect that community out there. And so it perfectly illustrated the point that we have an interconnected fire system, that we're not talking about, Columbia serves just Columbia, Groveland serves just Groveland, Mona Vista serves just Salisburyville. It's a network of fire agencies and fire engines that serve the entire county. And that was perfectly illustrated on Friday. When we held the town hall, the power was out for the first 3 or 4 minutes of the meeting we had. Luckily, it was able to come back on again. But we didn't have representatives from the fire station until the very end of the meeting because they were out protecting our community. Perfectly illustrates why we need that fire engine and why I think that decision was a mistake. And I think there are a lot of people in that community that agree with me.
Thank you. Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. So in addition to that incident at the formerly Pacific Ultra Power Jamestown Energy site, I was able to drive down, interact with some of the employees right after that happened, confirm that there was luckily no injuries at that site. I know that was a very disruptive power outage. I think the worst it could have been, luckily, was avoided, but certainly something to be mindful of. So I want to just thank all the first responders who were able to be there. We had a huge line of cars. We had sheriffs. We had other law enforcement. We had, of course, our firefighters all on staff. And then Dory was the first person I called, as always, after hours when all the emergencies seemed to happen. So thank you for always picking up and being very on it. I really appreciate that because that's really critical. I just wanted to share that tonight I'm going to be at the Columbia Area Advisory Committee for any residents of Columbia. Please just text me, message me, email me. It's just inside the park there, talking about local issues. And then this Thursday is going to be the Promotion Club of Jamestown's Community Awards Dinner, and that'll be at 5:30. And similarly, if any members of the public in those areas would like to attend, please just let me know, and I'll make sure I'll get you the event info.
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Holland, Supervisor Kirk. Okay, thank you for those reports. All right, next will be our consent calendar. Would the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Item number 1, approving the correction of clerical error to resolution number 107-25, adopted on January 6, 2026, to reflect the correct resolution number 01-26. Item number 2, adopting resolution 02-26, authorizing the tax collector to conduct a public auction of tax defaulted properties. Item number 3, adopting resolutions approving the following Tuolumne County Groundwater Sustainability Agency, TCGSA, operations within the TCGSA jurisdiction of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, SGMA, Modesto Subbasin Jurisdiction. Resolution 03-26, adopting a groundwater use management program, and Resolution 04-26, adopting a well mitigation program. Item number 4, recognizing unanticipated revenue in the Sheriff Jail Cost Center for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant, JAG, in the amount of $39,094 and increasing appropriations by the same amount. Item number 5, approving 1, the award of the contract in the amount not to exceed $250,000, each for the purpose of on-call tree removal services with R3 Consulting Group Inc., and 2, delegate signature authority to the Director of Public Works for task orders issued under said contracts.
Thank you. Would the board like to pull any items for discussion?
I don't want to pull any, but I did have questions I sent to Deborah this morning.
Supervisor Kirk, let me see if there are any items that wish to be pulled first.
No, but it's just a fix.
I know, but I just want to make sure that,
No pull.
any items that wish to be pulled? And this is more for the clerk to maintain the minutes. So go ahead, Mr. Supervisor. Please.
Item number 5, it's not an all-call tree removal. We just need to update that. I was confused because they talked about tree removal, and then when you read the packet, it was something different. So you might just want to get with Deborah to fix the minutes on that. That's it.
Thank you. Open it up to the board for comments. Seeing none, open it up to the public for comments. It'll be a quick meeting. Seeing none. All right, bring it back to the board for discussion. Any items that wish to be discussed regarding the consent calendar?
Chair, make a motion to approve consent calendar.
I'll second.
Accepted that Supervisor Kirk and then Supervisor Brandon. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Seeing none. All right, item number 6 is going to be other business. Would the clerk please read item number 6?
Item number 6, discussion and direction on the 2026 Board of Supervisors workshop.
Okay, as we know, we had at the last meeting decided that we were going to do or the meeting before that, we were going to do a workshop in February. And the board should decide, is it going to be 1 day, 2 day, location, format? How does the board wish to give guidance and direction to staff so we can prepare? Anybody? Supervisor Brandon.
Sure, happy to weigh in. I know we provided some, I think, initial direction when we're talking about calendaring on what we wanted to see with this. So in line with what my request was at the beginning of last year, I think this is one of the most important things that we do. It has not always been the most effective space. I think part of that is actually it's often rushed. I remember my first year we had a 6-minute roundtable with all the staff, so you got to know what they do in their department in 6 minutes. That is not a very in-depth approach. In future years, we've been able to have a little bit more in-depth. Having a day where our department heads are able to brief us on what they would like to see from the priority list, and then having a day or two that we are able to, as a board, work. I don't think we need to do trust falls, but I do think the idea of some of these topics being complicated, that are more difficult than a 15-minute conversation to figure out where we're at, is really valid. So all to say is I think we should make it not 1 day. I think we should have a day for those department head briefings. I think that's really important, particularly what are upcoming agenda items. We should be reviewing our priority list as we're developing a new one for a 2-year. I think we couldn't spend enough time probably doing so. If it was a week, I think we should do a week. So 2 days at a minimum for the workshop. Personally, I'd prefer 1 day for our staff to present and 2 days for us to work through a priority list. And I'd like it to be collaborative. I think it'd be great to have it here where the public can attend and be engaged and watch that process. Would be very helpful and also cheaper.
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Kirk?
Yeah, I agree with some of what Supervisor Brandon said. I think what I'm going to hand this out. I just gave one to the clerk. This is for each one of my colleagues up here. Steve, this is more for you since you're the chair. You're kind of running the agenda. And Roger, I'm making copies for people in the back. I was having issues with my printer this morning, so I'll staple more together and put these in the back. Look, been doing it for 7-8 years, and I think we've wasted so much time at these board retreats doing kumbaya. And if you don't know what you're doing by now, you're never going to know what you're doing. My recommendation is that we be prepared. We know exactly what we as individuals, as supervisors, want to do when we come to this meeting. I think we could do it in a day. I don't necessarily need to go through this entire outline, Steve. This is more for you, but what I recommend is that we chime in today. We also send you our thoughts, and then you kind of formalize as far as what the agenda is. But I'm really simple. We're in a new fiscal era. We've changed some of our budget policies, and we are doing some priority budget direction. We already have clear point with a lot of things that I think we need to go over. So this outline, this agenda kind of outlines, if I was chair, how I'd like it to go. So let's see here. My recommendation is during this conversation or retreat, or let me answer your questions real quick to the memo. I think it should be a day, no longer than 2. I do think there is some benefit to going off-site. I'm not looking to go spend thousands of taxpayer dollars on going to Rush Creek, but I think we do need to go somewhere where it's a little bit more intimate so we can just hash some things out. I think during this, I think we need to start off with a budget presentation to remind us where we are. We can go over our prior priorities, which were on ClearPoint. We brought back our department heads, and we took over those performance evaluations. And during those performance evaluations, a lot of those department heads told us what they were working on. We gave them direction. I think we need to touch base with them again and ask them where they are at with those specific items. So I will be asking staff to give me a list of all the past department head performance evaluations that we had, so I can check back to see what they had made some promises to and check in on those. And really, again, I don't want to go through this whole thing. If you have time to look at it, we really need to. We have a pretty good reputation of coming up with new ideas. And in this agenda, I'm really clear about if we're coming up with new ideas, then we need to cut old ideas. It can't be an add and add. It needs to be a give and a take. And then finally, have some conversation about what our fiscal sustainability is and how we might be able to generate some revenues. So I'm saying a lot, but if you look at the agenda that I put together, it's spelled out pretty condensed, pretty concise, and it's on strict timelines. If we don't adhere to the timelines, it won't work. And so I would recommend that, or that would be my recommendation for the retreat, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Campbell or Holland?
We had talked about doing it on, I wasn't sure where we landed, but we had talked about the 5th and 6th of February. I actually have a conflict with that time now, so whatever we do, I would ask that we do it on basically any other week now at this point.
Okay, so you have a conflict on the
5th and 6th of February. is
Okay,
what we
but
talked
both
about.
days are conflicted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could we substitute it for like a Monday, Tuesday, or actually like a Tuesday, Wednesday, since we're so used to doing Tuesdays anyways?
And that would work for me if we did it the 2nd and 3rd instead of the 5th and 6th. I'm open those days.
Okay.
And we have designated a special, a board meeting for the 3rd anyway, so. Was that supposed to be a regular board meeting? Did you already have items you had planned for that day?
Yeah, actually, I don't believe there was anything on the agenda for the 3rd yet.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Supervisor Holland?
I'd like to see maybe just, I agree, I think just one day, wherever is fine with me, and whatever day is fine with me.
Okay. I agree with Supervisor Brandon. I think a 2-day is the way to go. I also agree with Supervisor Brandon that it should be held here. I know this isn't always the most comfortable, but it's set up for the public to be able to see it. There has been times where it was at Rush Creek, and it's hard for people to get up, especially during February, to get up to the higher elevation in Groveland, as well as when it was held at the Resiliency Center in Tuolumne. It was videotaped but not broadcasted, my understanding. So I fully agree with transparency and having it here. I have no issues. I don't believe, I know Supervisor Brandon, you nodded that date was good. That was good for you, to the 2nd and 3rd?
The 2nd and 3rd are fine for me.
Okay.
If that's fine with the board.
If we could just have now I don't know if we can vote on changing that now because we had already made the vote. If not, then we can earmark it and bring it back to a vote on maybe next Tuesday. I know we have a special meeting on Tuesday. We could just do a quick one item on there. I'll look to council and Roger for that.
I think it's within your authority under this agenda item to, pick
To change
the
the
date
date.
you're
Okay.
going to discuss timing and length of it under the current agenda item.
Are you 2nd and 3rd? You're good? Okay. Was that? Groundhog Day? All right. Well, it's somewhat appropriate.
2nd and 3rd?
Yeah. Are you good with that, Supervisor Kirk?
Sure.
Are you Okay.
I think we could do it in a day, but we're overridden, so second and third.
Okay, well, it's good to have a 2 day, so if we can knock it out in 1 day, which I doubt, at least we have a second day rather than the reverse. So, Supervisor Campbell, you're good. Obviously, those are your days. I want to make sure that we're,
Yep.
Got it. Okay. All right, do we need a vote to move the date, or can we just thumbs up and move the date?
It would be appropriate for the board to give direction by taking a vote.
Okay, all right, before we get to that, I'll go ahead and open this item up to the public for comment. Good morning.
Good morning. I agree with 2 days. I agree with having your department heads for 1 day, but I don't need department heads to take an hour. But a reasonable amount of time would be okay. And I agree with having it here. It just makes it easier, but I would change the configuration of the room and make it a little more casual. And I would like to see some priorities besides fire, law enforcement, and roads. I don't think we've had very many fire deaths, and certainly not in a major fire. Whatever deaths occurred in someone's individual residence. People are dying on our roads, but I don't know if it's necessarily because of the condition of the road unless there's black ice. And I don't think law enforcement has killed anybody recently here. But I would like to see some priorities revolving around our alcohol and substance use disorders that are occurring at rampant levels in our community. And just since the beginning of January, we have had 16 DUI arrests. And that's just through the 10th of January. And one person was kind enough to get arrested twice in 7 days. We should be horrified at those kind of statistics. And your district attorney applied for grant funding 2 years ago, applied for grant funding this year, and got even more money because our DUI rates are so high. The Sonora Police Department applied for a DUI grant because our DUI statistics are so high. And believe me, I will be all over too about the Motherlode Parade and open alcohol on the sidewalk, because that just condones that. And then our Sheriff's Department, you're going to hear about it shortly, I think, also won some money as a DUI grant. So if our departments are going out and getting money because to deal with this issue, then it should be a priority of you also.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding the board workshop? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and accept a vote, but if there's final comments, we can do that. Supervisor Brandon?
Great, thank you. I wanted to focus on, I think, a couple of the things you'd mentioned, the more specific logistics. Just coming into it, if we're having, I do really think the 1 day for department head discussion, I know that I wouldn't recommend we follow this for a few reasons, but again, going back to this, we get 6 minutes with the department head, and we can't really ask questions in that time. You don't get a lot of info, especially where some of the departments have very complicated things coming up. I would recommend where we come into the end of our 2-year priority, at the beginning of our next priority list, we would be looking at anything, again, continuing from the past, but a lot of it's going to be brand new. We would, in advance of this workshop, send out to our staff and probably through the CAO's office a request for proposals of what our staff would expect will be coming up. And I think it's fair for us to make sure we're efficient, that we would write up any ideas we're bringing to the table with a 1-page. I think that's a reasonable ask, but that way we are fair to everybody who put in the work to bring an idea to consider it, but we're also not going to get bombarded by a bunch of on-the-spot stuff that people aren't prepared for, and we can make sure that we have copies for the public. So that would be my recommendations. Anything we bring up, we do the same as our staff. We do a 1-page write-up, and we request our staff to participate and be able to send in their ideas for the next 1 or 2 year priority list.
And I agree with Supervisor Brandon's comments about the department head portion. I've been through a few of these board workshops at this point, and the only thing that I have seen that has had a lasting value and the discussion that we've carried forward through the rest of the year is the feedback we receive from department heads. I think, honestly, going over priorities and a list of things we want to do throughout the year, it's just been a waste of time because it ends up changing as emergencies arise and as budgets change. Those priorities go out the window very quickly, and so hearing from our staff, hearing from the people who are actually doing the work in the organization, to me, has been the valuable part. So that's the part I would emphasize.
Supervisor Kirk?
I'll just say my apologies for not getting this out earlier. In the agenda that I put together, there is a department head check-in, so that's all encompassing. It includes checking in with them. I agree, having department heads give their thoughts and their input is always more, gives longevity to the plan, but that doesn't mean that we negate our priorities as supervisors. So our priorities still need to be part of the conversation. So I would encourage everybody up here to actually spend some time and read it. Brandon, your statement was you wouldn't follow this, but I don't know if you've even read it yet. So I would just suggest that you guys read it. And then my recommendation would be that we then individually, if they have different ideas, just email you and you figure out a way and formulate the agenda.
Okay, thank you. No comment. So, yeah, for me, I think some of the department heads I've spoken to, as well as the conversation I had with Mr. Root, was that I think it's important that we have the board, that the department heads come before the board and tell us what they see is working and what potentially is not working. There are times where the board in all organizations will say, hey, let's do this. But the reality is that we can't do that because we haven't seen the full picture. So we want to get that pushback where necessary from staff, that maybe we're not doing the right. You'll hear me say this at the workshops called Truth to Power, where we want the staff to be able to come back before the board and say it's a great idea, but it's not going to work, and this is the reason why. So I think we can split the difference. We'll have opportunity for the board to come, or the department heads come before the board, tell us what's working, not working, and what they see as a long-term goal. We can work that into our goals as well. I appreciate the handout. I appreciate the comment made about diving into this a little bit more. So I would say, unless there's any other further comment, I'll accept a motion to move the date to the 2nd and 3rd of February.
So moved.
The second?
Or second,
Oh, is it-
whatever you need.
I need a first.
I will first it.
First it is. Second? All right, second. All right, so all in favor of moving the date to the 2nd and 3rd, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, done. All right, and then final closing comment here is please send me what you feel would be a good outline or ideas, and I agree wholeheartedly, Supervisor Brandon, with your position of writing up what you think, or you have a one-page memo, right? We don't want to inundate everybody with a lot of data, so I appreciate that.
And Chair, just a point of clarification on that related to the Brown Act. I wanted to check if we're having these write-ups and we're having any framing of, let's say, hey, I think we should have 2 hours for trust falls, lots of trust falls. Can I send that to you? If we're all sending that to you, should that be through staff and our admin office?
My understanding is that as long as we're not replying back and forth to, so if you have a topic, your 2-hour trust file, and you send me a memo, I have it for review, and I'm not replying back, I think we're okay, as long as we're not having a closed discussion about the 2-hour trust file.
I think, Supervisor, Mr. Chairman, that you are accurate. I think as a matter of just making sure it's all transparent, you may want to have the board members submit them to the CAO and then have the CAO brief you directly. Would probably be the best.
The notorious reply all.
And yeah, don't hit reply all. Never ever hit reply all.
What are we submitting to the CAO, to be clear?
So if you have items that you wish to discuss, or a topic or priority that you want to bring forward, write up a memo, have documentation accordingly, and send that to the CAO, and the CAO and I will meet and go over it and put together the agenda. I will kind of ask the board if we want to do more of a, I'm old school, I like the old paper easels where we write everything down, but I know that's not the way we do it anymore, so we can do maybe configure the room here into a big circle, or something, some way that we can have the people watch and the staff can interact with the board. So we'll probably be down on the floor here. So that's kind of the vision I see. Okay. All right, well, I appreciate that discussion. All right, our next item will be, our next item will be the 10 a.m. presentation and update from Atka Food Bank. Because that is scheduled at 10 a.m. as an appointment, we cannot start early, so we'll go ahead and take a 15-minute break. One item regarding some house cleaning, item number 1 of the 12 p.m. ceremonial swearing in and reaffirmation of oath has been postponed. Some of our electeds are not able to make it, and the judge has another conflict as well. So we'll just come back to that. So we will go ahead and take a 15-minute break. All right, now that we're seated, we'll go ahead with our 10 o'clock appointment. Ms. Clerk, please read.
10 a.m. Presentation and update on the Amador-Tuolumne Community Action Agency, Atka Food Bank.
Morning, Supervisors.
Morning, sir.
Let's see. First, my apology for misunderstanding that I was supposed to make a presentation this morning. I was not aware of that, but I'm going to give you one anyways, but it's going to be verbal. There's been a lot of interest in the food bank, the status of the food bank, especially recently with some social media posts. But I want to back up a little bit and let everybody know, including you and the public, what's been going on with the food bank for really the last year. So it was December of 2024 when it came to my attention that CDBG funding might be at risk. It was January of 2025 that I came to the Board of Supervisors and asked for support in trying to do what was necessary to get that CDBG funding. In about April of 2025, the board, the Atka board, and myself worked together to develop a plan of how the food bank would continue to operate in the event that CDBG funding for 2025 was not available. So we've been working on that plan for quite a while. I, as the executive director, have accrued a significant amount of reserve dollars, which are donations from community members and agencies in Tuolumne County. Those reserves, and the plan has been to use those reserves in conjunction with available funding that we had until the available funding ran out. In about the October 2025 timeframe, maybe September, it became apparent that we had about 6 or 7 months of reserves left to go. And so I reached out to Sonora Area Foundation, and we received a significant amount of donations matched by Sonora Area Foundation from Adventist Health, $15,000, and from other sources, many small, from $10 to multi-$1,000 donations. That boosted our reserves back up to a significant amount, and that put us in a position where we have funding to cover that's with reserves and without any additional grants coming to ATCA, which of course we're always applying for new grants to bring, whether it's $5,000 in or $100,000 in. We continue to do that, but if we were to receive no funding, none, from this point forward in 2026, we would be able to cover almost the entire year. So we expect additional donations, and working with Sonora Area Foundation, we're discussing fundraisers that we would have in the April-May timeframe to allow for funding to keep us through the entire year. And again, that's if we didn't receive any additional grant funding. So as a part of that, and in response to the ATCA board, we have made some cuts. We've made some changes in our service model at the food bank. Back in the COVID period, there was a lot of money that came to the food bank, and we were able to do things like add a mobile distribution unit, a refrigerated truck that we could take out food out to food deserts in Tuolumne County and supply food in areas that we hadn't previously been able to. We also added what's called shopping days, where the pantries can choose what they want, that we have food that we have available in the pantry, and that would happen 2 times a month in addition to the 2 times a month distributions that we have and deliveries that we make to the different pantries. We've cut some of that out. It doesn't, so the shopping days have been cut out. That adds a lot of labor effort on our staff's plate that we are not cutting out any food being delivered to any of the pantries. All the food that we get is getting distributed. It's just getting distributed 2 days a month rather than 4 days a month. So that helped reduce some of our labor costs, and and also working with most of the partner pantries that we have to have them come pick up food rather than us deliver it to them. So that's reducing some of our operating costs for fuel, maintenance on the vehicles, those kinds of things. The impact has been that our staff has agreed to reduce their hours by 8 hours a week, from 40 to 32. That's 6 full-time staff members beginning February 1st. So that's a reduction of effectively 48 hours a week. That is not impacting the delivery of food to any of our partners' pantries or any of our distributions that we have at the food bank in Jamestown. So I think that's about all I have to say, unless I know that CAO Root has some updates on where we're going near term here for potential funding, CDBG funding for 2025. But if there's any questions you have of me, would this be the time to ask?
So I'll open it up to the board discussion. Supervisor Campbell, I know that you had kind of informally suggested that we have this presentation, so would you like to run with it?
So the way, just to kind of back up a little bit on some of the things that Joe said, the way ATCA is set up, it's a JPA, which is Joint Powers Agreement between Tuolumne County and Amador County. And the action agency exists as a portal for these types of funds to provide these types of services and to kind of pool our efforts between the 2 counties. CDBG stands for Community Development Block Grants. Those are grants that come directly down from the federal government, which had traditionally gone to things exactly like this. Like, we always use them for the food bank, we use them for Meals on Wheels, a variety of other things kind of that nature. We've heard from the federal government, from the White House, that they no longer want to provide funding for those types of efforts anymore. So just to kind of put a pin on some of the things, or rephrase it in a briefer way, we have the short-term health of the food bank is under control. Joe's done an excellent job kind of stretching out the reserves that we have diligently been saving over the years, making them last longer, and then resolving this immediate issue with the audits that the county has now completed over the past several years that have really made it difficult for those of us that are on the board for ATCA. So short term, the health of the food bank it's struggling, and it's always struggled, but it's still going to function. Long term is the issue, because there are funds down the road that are going away that are not going to be replaced, or that's what we're being told right now. So I would say from the county's perspective, what we could do is get the audits done first of all, because we have indication, and Roger, you can kind of, if you have any more information on this, but I've been talking with Roger and the auditor that once we get the audits that we are behind on done, and then we'll be able to apply for the retroactive round of CDBG grants that we didn't receive last year because the county didn't finish the audits. It's been a struggle for me because, you know, I'm on this board. I serve with Jaron Brandon, and you know, we have all these people looking to us, why hasn't the county completed these audits? And ultimately, that is up to the auditor's office, and it's not something that's in the purview directly of the Board of Supervisors. But I feel that this board has been very supportive of getting that done. In fact, we have put additional money toward hiring consultants and getting people to expedite completing the audits. So I just want everybody to know and understand that at least at the board level, we're doing everything we possibly can to get these funds released, get them into the food bank so that people can, so that the food bank can be healthy and continue on. That long-term issue, that is something that has nothing to do with our county. That is well above our pay grade, a decision that's been made that these types of efforts no longer have the support at the federal level. And that's something we're going to have to look to. We're going to have to look to our community for support there to continue this going. But we have, you know, the next year or more to figure that out. I don't know, does that sound, did I say anything wrong?
Not from my perspective. I mean, I would offer that.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective in terms of our reserves. So over the last 10 and a half years that I've been involved with ADCA, we have been in positions where we had no more than 4 months worth of reserves to keep the food bank open. And that goes back 8, 9, 10 years ago. You know, we're currently sitting on the order of 9 to 10 months. So I just want to put that in perspective. With the ability, I'm confident to do some fundraising and keep it going. So, you know, as Supervisor Campbell said, the food bank has always struggled. You know, it's not like there's this constant supply of money. Even CDBG has never fully funded the food bank on any year. It's just a portion of the funding. So, you know, this isn't new to ADCA to struggle with funding. It does happen. It's just this became very, very visible, I guess, most recently. CAO, Root, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so Supervisor Campbell told most of what I was going to say, but the CDBG grant funding, we're very confident that our auditor controller will have the audits complete to allow us to apply for that extension and have the funding for this year. But like you heard, long-term, there's going to be a problem. They haven't published the exact changes they're making, but they have verbally said that they're going to remove the public service funding for at least 2 years, which really is a 3-year gap for that funding that ADCA is very dependent upon. And the reason it's a 3-year gap is because they're going to stop the funding for 2 years, then they'll have an application year, and then the funding will come back the next year. That's what they told us, but they haven't published anything with that outline yet. So I don't want to promise that's what's going to happen. They verbally said that in a meeting, and then said it'd be in writing at some point, but it hasn't come out yet. And so we are going to have a long-term problem. We'll have the audits cut up, and we'll be able to apply this year, but I'm really concerned about 26 and beyond, because we'll have a 3 to 4 year gap where there'll be no funding. The recommendation from during that meeting was that fundraising, and we're going to have to depend on the community to fill that gap. And I think it's around $600,000.
It's between $500,000 and $600,000 a year.
So it's quite a bit amount that's going to be lost during that time. So absolutely.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. And Supervisor Campbell did a really good job of explaining it. I know that, as mentioned, the issue with the audits is brought up a lot. The auditor position is like a comptroller. It's an elected position that is a check on us. It's a check on administration. As a check, there's limits to kind of the direct influence on it. And we had some plans in place to be able to address it and I think offer all of our support. Unfortunately, people left the county, people retired out of positions, and we didn't have folks that ran for it for a very long time or that were qualified to run for it, and it did put us in a really bad spot. I think we're making a lot of progress on that. And I agree with the framing that there is a short-term and a long-term problem. I think the short-term problem, thanks to, particularly Sonora Area Foundation, I believe it's 130,000 so far or something like that, huge amount of community support. And so I want to thank all the donors there in the Sonora Area Foundation, everybody that stepped up. If you want to help out, the money goes to feeding people. It goes directly to a very efficient program that goes right to assisting those that need it. I'm really also concerned, though, about the long term. ATCA has several $1 million in a variety of different funds. It's pretty much all funded through grants, whether that's energy conservation or the VITA tax credit, food bank, all the stuff that ends up happening. And a lot of these have been proposed for cuts. Some of them have had stopgap measures introduced at the federal level where they said, okay, we're going to do a bill, a one-year funding reauthorization, but we have to pay attention to the fact that the budget, which is compiled by the president, cut many of these programs. Another one that hugely supports ATCA is the Community Service Block Grant, the Community Development Block Grant. I know our congressman has called for the elimination of those programs. It's all to say that there was, the proposal came out and said we're going to stop woke programs. One of the things was very specifically Community Service Block Grant. I don't know how we would function if we didn't have, that is the heart, literally, of a community action agency like ATCA, like the thousands of other community action agencies that were formed during the war on poverty. We've seen those funds kind of decline over time, but I'm not aware of a previous time where they were wholesale proposed for elimination. Just the CSBG grant would be $770 million. So there is a really a large concern. If people ask, how do we end up getting such a large budget in such a county with only about, 70 million or so in our general fund? We are very reliant on state and federal funds, and this is a perfect example. So I'm very concerned in particular, just January 6th, about a week ago, President Trump announced that there's going to be basically 5 Democratic states that have $10 billion frozen in child care, cash assistance, and social services. I'm not aware that this affects this program. I don't believe so. But that intention means that these stopgap measures, as opposed to some of the ones that are like 10-year reauthorizations, we never know when we're going to have a year that we can't handle it, and how much ATCA's reserves and private philanthropy can carry it on is questionable. Where it's $400,000 to $500,000 or $600,000 a year, that is not a sustainable amount to then fundraise, I think, every single year. I think our community is very generous. They can step up, but they can't do that every single time. And I'm concerned, too, where outside the budget process, we're having executive actions that seem to be and have eliminated these in the White House budgets, have, through executive action, ceased payments. It then gets tied up in court. These quote-unquote woke programs going to basically feeding people in food banks. So we are going to have to figure out something with the food bank. I don't think we can rely on just private philanthropy, and I'm not sure as a county how we would be able to absorb that cost either. So I'd encourage everybody to reach out to your legislators, reach out to our senators or congressmen, local governments in particular for this, and to our state legislators who could authorize an allocation. We're very much with our hands tied when it comes to these programs being eliminated because they are at the federal level, these decisions made. And these are local impacts to some of the stuff we might see on the news and be like, well, maybe that sounds good or sounds bad, or we get a kind of headline. This is the program that for how many decades has, how old's the food? It's older than me.
I believe, I don't know the exact
40, 50
date, but
years.
it was started in the 80s.
Yeah. This is how it's always been funded, and some of these long-standing things are really at risk right now. So I hope we continue to have these conversations because it is extremely important. Head Start's another one as well that I'm just very worried about.
Well, thank you for your comments. Supervisor Kirk or Holland? Nothing on my left, nothing on my right. Okay. All right. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming to the board to give us this presentation, non-presentation. I know there was some mistakes. Well, like I said, it's still opening day. We're working through it. So,
All right.
with that being said, please take a seat. We're going to have some comments from the public, if there are any. All right, I knew there was one.
Thanks for the explanation. Just want to thank you guys for what you're doing locally. I didn't understand it was that level of a problem. Thought it was something I would address with you guys, but it looks like you're doing everything you can to preserve this funding. Hearing all that, I think I would shift everything I was going to say and just ask if there's a way to harness the human capital, because a lot of these people, like me, I'm a contractor. I got sick, and then I never needed food, and all of a sudden I did because it couldn't work. It was kind of a fluke. But I have a high degree of skills and license and everything. I'd be happy to do things that would contribute work. And maybe there's other people who can contribute skills. Maybe there's retired people. Is there a way to harness the community and ask people, hey, if you want to keep this going, pitch in here, or do this, or contribute? Is there something we could do locally? Because the federal is...
So per our policy, we don't engage in conversation with the 3 minutes, but what I would recommend is that you speak to either the director himself or have perhaps Supervisor Campbell and Supervisor Brandon, who do sit on that committee, to roundtable those ideas.
Okay, yeah, I would close by saying maybe you could create a list of things that would help locally and people could sign up for, and I'd be happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other?
My name is Linda Darnall, and I have lived in this county all but the first 3 years of my life. And I want to thank all of you for the time that you put in. And I came here about the food bank also. Years ago, I had a business for 17 and a half years. I never thought I would be personally a person who depended upon the food bank. But, you know, life deals you those cards. And I also do volunteer work. I volunteer one time a week at Interfaith. And I also would be willing to put time in helping with this type of thing. I actually discussed a couple of ideas with Jaron Brandon before the meeting. And thank you for your open discussion with me about this. I go down early in the morning. It's amazing how many people are there. I get down there at 7 a.m. to be part of the first group down there. All the other people that are down there pretty much at that time of morning are like me. They're on Social Security. We just can't afford on Social Security to eat healthy without places like the food bank. It's great because they also let us choose what we want there. I don't eat canned goods, that type of thing, because of my health issues. And so I really hate to see the food bank in this kind of a position. So whatever we can do to try to keep this funding going, I think we all need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning, Board. My name is Miko Daniels, and I am the Food Bank Director. I wanted just to mention a couple of things just to keep in mind. One being that we have increased our clientele by over 1,000 every quarter in the past year. We also, since I've started, it's just been a little bit over a year, I've made a number of changes that has made logistics easier, more efficient, just change things around so that we weren't doubling back, you know, when we're doing deliveries, things like that. The last cuts that we just did, by not delivering, not doing pantry shopping, things like that, we're probably the last things that we can do to remain as efficient as we can be without cutting services completely. It's a big deal to have to cut 8 hours out of everyone's week to kind of keep. We haven't even experienced it yet because it hasn't started until the 1st of February, but it'll be interesting to see. We do have a number of volunteers, reliable volunteers that are great, that are doing deliveries for us, things like that. But we can't do it without your help. So I just want to let you know that I do appreciate all the things that you have been doing to get the audits done and to hopefully help us come up with some way of funding within that next few years. So I just wanted to thank you guys for that.
Thank you. All right, any further comments? All right, seeing none, I appreciate everyone who took the time to speak. We'll go ahead and bring this back to the board for any final comments. Supervisor Holland? None? Go ahead.
Great, thank you. And Joe, actually I had, if you might be willing to come up, a couple questions. This is just looking forward at maybe some of the options we could do. And I appreciate the presentation too. I think a lot of this was to dispel what was kind of handed out and on social media there. Appreciate the clarifying statement of it. You know, there's reason to be concerned, but not reason to be alarmed immediately, and folks are on it and working on it. One thing I wanted to ask is, I would imagine one of the biggest challenges, obviously besides the staffing of just being able to run it, is purely the donations of food. Are we reaching out to a lot of the farmers that might be having trouble moving their crops or selling them, and other, there's certain crops right now that their markets have disappeared, to see if they'd be willing to, particularly for fresh food, be able to support allocations there? Are we kind of reaching out to new folks?
Yeah, so Mika can probably speak to this better, but we had a program in 2025.
Feel free to if you got more, yeah.
That was an acronym, LIFPA or something like that, or LFPA, that was recently concluded. But that was a collaboration between local farmers and ourselves to, actually the funding was fairly significant. We didn't actually receive the dollars, we received the goods, then were billed for it, and then that was paid for by...
There's a state bill for tax credits, right?
Yes.
For spoilage, avoiding spoilage or something.
Yeah. So
that ended?
It did.
Okay.
That just ended. It's a two-way street. I'll tell you that, we occasionally have spoilage as well, and we help feed, pig farms, and, rather than just throw it away, we're supporting, ranchers with those kinds of things as well. But is there anything that you want to add to that?
I am reaching out to a number of farmers that we were previously working with through LFPA. They were getting more than wholesale prices for their food, and we would order what we needed, and they would cut it, and we'd get it the same day. You can't get better produce than that, and I don't want that to end. So I haven't heard back from anybody yet, because the LFPA actually ends in a few months, but we're at the very tail end of it. So unfortunately, that was a great program. But yeah, I'm hoping to work with a number of people to continue that on in our own, whatever agreement we can.
I'm wondering if we could do direct outreach or to our local and regional farm bureau as well. They might have folks, again, that say the nut market, it's a largely export market, soybeans too, that they might have availability. I wanted to ask too, if you could kind of explain, I know there's the food bank everybody's familiar with, and there's like Columbia Sky, the pantries that are all out there, a little bit about what that looks like and how many there are within the county that are kind of served through these satellite operations you support.
We have about 28 satellite operations. Places like Interfaith, we can't stop delivering to. They receive anywhere from 6 to 9 pallets at a time from us of food. So it's a lot of the pantries serve people, a number of people actually bigger than what we serve at ATCA Food Bank on our distribution days. Anywhere, Nancy's Hope can sometimes serve up to 900 people at a time. So, it's big.
Yeah.
A lot of people. There's more people coming to receive food every month than the number of people in the county that are on CalFresh or SNAP by a good 1,000, if not more.
Right. And I just had one last, I think, closing comment on it is one, thank you for being here. An openness that this is the time to brainstorm. And so, we sit on the ATCA board and we do get program updates, but we are not at those board meetings dealing with the day-to-day that you're dealing with. Same as I think we're just talking about priorities for the board this coming year and what we're looking to do as a county organization. If there are opportunities where we can increase that partnership and it's mutually beneficial, if you got a crazy idea, figure this is the time to try and do it. I know that folks getting their hours cut, it's hard to ask somebody to work part-time if they then don't have an alternative. We also have vacant positions at the county that is also helping people. It's not in the same field, but maybe there's opportunities for joint employment. Maybe there's some support we can do through our realignment funds temporarily. Maybe we could go open up a farm on some of the land with all that water we got in the mine. I don't know. Any to say is I encourage anybody listening and our staff. I know you're working on it. I know you're going through all of the normal stuff. If there's something that's a crazy idea, let's talk about it and be able to bring that, hopefully you feel comfortable, to the ATCA board, to Joe, so that we can be able to discuss.
I appreciate that
Thank you, Chair.
because a lot of
Thank
the
you.
ideas I have seem to be outside the box.
All right. Supervisor Campbell, Kirk, or Holland? I already called on Holland. Ignore him. Nothing? Okay, so in closing, again,
One last thing.
Go ahead.
To the general public, if you want to find out more opportunities to volunteer, look us up at atcaa.org, atka.org. Go to the food bank and you can see the ability to sign up as a volunteer for the food bank.
Well, and you kind of led into what I was going to say in my closing is that, you mentioned earlier that your reserves are your reserves, and as we all know, those are there for rainy days, right? You keep them on hand for in the event something big happens and it's something unforeseeable, as Supervisor Brandon pointed out regarding, the federal government and their decisions. You don't want to, it's always good to have those reserves there until, it starts raining and we don't want to chew through that. So I do appreciate his comments there, especially Sonora Area Foundation. I know that they're an organization that contributes greatly and we appreciate them. I would say perhaps because this is such an important component of just the overall health of our citizens, that perhaps maybe once a year or twice a year, we get a little presentation. So I think you're one of the greater, better kept secrets in our community. I don't think people know that, the work you do and how many, I didn't realize that you had 28 spots either, that you were, your satellite distributions. So maybe throw it on your radar, maybe go through the committee and say, hey, maybe in Q2 and Q4 of each year, you come before the board and say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how much we gave out, because that next donor is out there, that next person with the great idea is out there. So we want to make sure that you're getting the recognition for the work that you're doing. So
I would also like to encourage all of you to come by the food bank anytime. I'd be glad to give you a tour. There's a lot of changes that have happened over the last year that we're very proud of.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. All right. So with that being said, I would ask the board for a little clarity. Our PG&E representative is here. He was not able to make it here during the public comment. Would the board be fortunate to allow him to come up before the board to give his 3 minutes? I know we're a little bit outside of our norm, if that's okay. Okay.
Good morning, Chair Griefer, members of the board, Roger, my old friend from Fresno County. Dan, what are you doing up here? Good to see you. Nathan Alonso, your local government affairs representative for Pacific Gas and Electric. I'd open by wishing Supervisor Brandon a happy birthday. You're finally 30. Good for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So a couple of things. One, addressing the major outage that we had countywide this past week. As many of you have heard, and I think I've already communicated with some of you, was third-party caused at the cogen plant. There was an issue with one of their third-party owned pieces of infrastructure there at the cogen plant. There was no fire. There was no other combustible event. Everything is back to normal operations, and when the initial outage happened, we had about 33,988 customers countywide out. within an hour and a half, we were able to get 25,000 of those back online. And then with crews deployed to various places throughout the county, we were able to get everybody else online, with the exception of a couple of hundred there at the site in Jamestown that necessitated some transformer repairs and some circuit breaker repairs, who were then on within a couple of hours of that. But everybody was on before midnight, and we were able to wrap that incident up pretty quickly. A huge thank you to the sheriff's office here, your fire service up here, and so many of you who I was in contact with throughout the event for your collaboration. There's nothing like a good old rumor mill. I saw on Chit Chat Sonora all kinds of stuff that folks believed was happening, which was indeed not the case. So thank you to all of you who then communicated on your social media about what was actually happening. So that, and then the other tidbit and secondary update is I sent all of you an email before the end of the year stating that we had been able to reduce and cut our price per kilowatt hour or bring down customer bills for the fourth time in 2 years. This is part of a greater trend and effort on affordability on our end. As we've talked about before, we're doing everything that we can as far as renegotiating third-party contracts, right-sizing our organization, really streamlining our processes to make sure that if it's possible, that we do whatever we can in order to continue to bring customer bills down. To conclude, there's a lot of work happening here on the undergrounding and system hardening front. I'd love to come before the board later on this year to give you a small update on that work and what the impacts on the community will be. There'll be trucks, there'll be dirt turning, and with those things, there's usually some traffic diversions, and we want to make sure that you have all of the information necessary to go back and communicate to your constituents what it is that's happening, so that everybody stays informed.
Got to cut you off there, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for coming up.
Chair, is it appropriate to be able to ask any questions on that specific to the event, or would we need to agendize an item?
We would need to agendize it. Okay. Yes, but thank you. I was thinking the same thing. Okay. So with that, thank you for that. That leaves us, like I said, our 12 p.m. number 1 item has been postponed. That leaves us our 12 p.m. item number 2. Madam Clerk, would you please read that?
12 p.m. 2, closed session, public employee appointment, Authority Government Code, Section 54957B1, County Council.
There will be no report out on this matter, so I will open it up to public comment. Seeing none, going once, going twice. All right, we will adjourn this meeting at 10:38. Thank you, everyone. My colleagues, please be in the law library at noon. Thank you.